As live music solidifies its return to bars and venues across the province, performers are adjusting to a new world, and some are finding that transition smoother than others. This is Kingston Live, and today we're talking with a four-piece whose savvy handling of pandemic limitations helped strengthen their return to the stage. After a lineup change and a new name, the Backsteps kicked off in late 2019 only to be met with the roadblock to end all roadblocks in March, right as the band finished recording their first record. But rather than sitting on the album and waiting out the pandemic, the band dropped their debut Oh Yeah on its own, giving the record the opportunity to speak for itself and garner some listeners in a lead up to live shows. Jump to 2021, and they did it again with Goodbye Youth, a potentially risky move that has paid off for the band, earning them enough attention to kick off a series of live shows, even catching them a series of performances as far as the southwestern United States. Now the Backsteps have taken that energy and applied it to their newest single, Room on Fire, a track that draws inspiration from alt-rock bands like The Strokes to create a track to get concert-goers moving.
We're joined by Seth and Luke from the Backsteps. How's it going, fellas?
Good, man. How are you?
Good.
Ange Stever here as well. And it's funny because when I joined Kingston Live, we were sitting around on our Zoom meeting talking about different bands that we could interview. And I said, I know this guy Seth. He's really talented. And one of the gals started laughing. She said, oh, yeah, the Backsteps. That's my band.
Oh, yeah.
And so, the Backsteps. First of all, I think the first time we spoke, you were going by a different name. So how new is this band for you?
We formed as the Backsteps in December of 2019, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we were, me and our drummer Dev, we were under the name Figure Eight for a couple of years with a different lineup. And then once we kind of got this new lineup in, we decided to change the name and gone from there kind of thing. Any
cool story behind that name?
Luke actually thought of the name. I don't know where it came from, honestly.
Yeah, I had that name and just on the back burner for a few years, just waiting for a good opportunity to use it. But it was just one of many that we kind of put on a list. I think we all four of us just kind of put our favorite band name ideas on a list, and we just kind of went through and just found one that we all agreed on and liked. So yeah, that's how that came about. No special meaning or anything behind it, just a name.
Somebody stepped back, fell off a deck. No, okay.
Yeah. We really need
I was like, I had a big thing going on in my mind about it.
We really got to make something up that's a little more exciting than that.
Yeah.
It actually came to me in a dream. So
and tell a different story every single time. This will be the only time you guys have ever told the truth.
Yeah. That's a good plan. Yeah.
And since taking on the new name, you guys have stayed very busy. You put out an album. What was it? You finished recording an album days before the pandemic, before the lockdown really started, right? The first round of lockdowns.
Yeah.
And then you kept that grind going the whole time. Do you want to kind of take us through that?
We recorded. Yeah, we finished recording our first album. I think the day we finished it, the Sunday, and then the world kind of shut down on the Monday. And so we got lucky in that sense. To the point where we were like finishing recording and like we had to, kind of like get one of us to sneak back in and grab like the thumb drive with the album on it. So like, yeah, it was really weird. And then we didn't see each other for about 2 or 3 months, and we just decided to release the album because we figured if we can't play shows, we're not just going to sit on it. We're going to give people something to enjoy and listen to while the times were tough. And then, the pandemic kind of continued longer than I think anybody expected it to. So we recorded another album, and then we were like, well, we're just going to release this as well. Because like I said, there's no point of really sitting on anything. And then the plan was kind of to let those 2 albums sit. Then when we could play shows again, people would know both albums. And I think it was pretty successful. So that's pretty much it.
Did you miss those live shows over the course of? I mean, they went away for a few months, popped back up. It was like little tease, and then things got canceled. That had to be tough.
it was really weird. We tried to do like the plexiglass concerts for a period of time, but it just wasn't the same. So we were kind of like, okay, let's just kind of wait it out a little longer. And then we did, I think our first full capacity show was we played in Montreal in October of last year, and it was awesome. It's good to have that like connection, you know.
Definitely missed like the real shows. We're able to play some shows that were, you know, restricted in certain capacity. They either had to be seated or capped at the number, and it just wasn't the same. Once we actually started playing shows where people were up dancing and could just have a good time, that's when we realized like, okay, yeah, this is what we've been missing for the last 2 years.
Now, Luke, last time I saw you perform was, I guess, early March at the Mansion. You guys opened up for Casador, and you looked pretty cool on the stage there. I got to say, fashion-wise, 10 out of 10 for Luke.
Oh, thank you so much.
Good job, Luke.
Yep.
All the other guys were 9.8, you know, but, you know, sometimes you just have that edge, so keep that up, man. Very cool.
Rock and roll is 90% image, so, yeah, you just got to be well-dressed.
Going back to the note of shows you've played, venues, and getting back on the road, you guys had a very unique opportunity recently to play the legendary Whiskey A Go-Go down in LA. How did that come about? What was that like?
It was kind of like a mutual thing between the guy or one of the guys that does the bookings there. He kind of heard our music, and then we kind of got in contact with each other. Then he was just like, you know, I'd love to have you guys out. Just pick any day you want, essentially. And we selected the day to open for Doyle from the Misfits down there because, you know, Misfits, iconic punk band. We figured, why not? We booked the show and we confirmed it and we announced it before we had a plan or anything. And then we were like, okay, well, now that it's announced to the world and people are buying tickets, let's try and scramble and figure something out. It was like a plan now, panic later kind of thing. And, and you know, there were times where we think it wasn't going to happen. But, you know, we pulled through and it was a great time, and super happy we got that opportunity to bring our music to the people of Hollywood.
I was down in LA back in November at Whiskey A Go-Go, and when I was there, I was just thinking to myself of all the different iconic bands that played on that stage. Did you think about that before you went up there, or you don't get in your head like that?
Well, it's one of those things where it's like it's really hard not to, because you walk in and there's like a plaque of Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and Joan Jett, and you're trying to put like visors on or something like that. So you like I was telling the guys before the show, I was like, we had so many people coming up to us and telling us who had played there, and we're like, we don't want to hear it. Like, you know, tell us Nickelback played there. Tell us, you know, somebody that's not, you know, Guns N' Roses. So and then it didn't really kick in for me until probably, oh gosh, we were so busy while we were in California. Probably not until I got home. I was kind of like, oh, we just played the Whiskey A Go-Go, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, that was for me. It wasn't until we like got home and kind of saw how people viewed it back home as we did.
Yeah, it's like one of those things you'll always have. You'll be like, you know, when you think back of your accomplishments in life, I feel like that's like on the list of things.
It's
that's
going to be up
man.
there, I think. Yeah, it was a good time.
This, speaking of accomplishments, is the only time I can think of how to segue into this. We're talking about whiskey. Let's talk about beer, because there's not a lot of bands that get to have their own signature brew. Sam Roberts' band does that with Spearhead. AC/DC just launched their own beer, and you guys did one with Gan Brewing back in September, which is a very nice feather in the cap to have, as not a lot of bands get the chance to do that. How did you swing that? How did that come to be?
I know some people I'm from Gan. No, I know a couple people at the Gan Brewery. Great people, great business. And then I was doing a bit of work for them, and they had this beer and they didn't have a name for it, and they wanted to name it after something local. And I was joking with the one guy there the one day, and I was like, you know, why don't you just name it after like the Backsteps? It's a local thing. We're a local group. And he was like, yeah, it's not a bad idea. And then it got put on the back burner, and then one day I was there and there was a beer named after the Backsteps, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. It was, they put it, I thought the idea got scrapped, but they were like, no, let's think of a good name and we'll put it out like tomorrow. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. People seem to enjoy it. I enjoyed it. The only person that didn't enjoy it was our guitar player. Actually, didn't think it was good. It's like, yeah, it was like, well, it was called an IPA, but it was like a cream ale or something like that. And we have an album called Goodbye Youth, and we called the beer Goodbye IB Youth because there's no IBUs in it. And I thought that was pretty funny. No one else really got it. Yeah,
I love the pun.
Yeah, I thought it was
works.
pretty clever.
Now, speaking of titles, you have a tune that's called Room on Fire that we're going to have a listen to. Tell us a little bit about this song.
Well, that was one that Seth wrote. So
yeah,
that's his title.
I wanted to write a song that sounded like The Strokes, and we were like, kind of messing with a couple different ideas and versions of the song. And then I actually took the song to Boris and Cam from Cassador. We had that show with them in March, and beforehand I'd gotten in touch with both of them, and I sent them the song, and I was like, let me know what you guys think of this. And I actually sat down with Boris one night, and we did like some pretty big rewrites to the song, and he really helped me kind of get to that point where the song was becoming something way better than it was without them. And then we were telling him how we wanted to record at the Bathhouse studio, and obviously they have some ins at the Bathhouse, so we got in contact with the engineer Niles, and he was nice enough to let us record out there for a day. And it really came together nicely. And then I think that reflects in the song. I think you can definitely hear it. It's just a fun time all around.
Say what's on your mind. Is it something that I've done? I love wasting time for the benefit of no one. Smoking a cigarette inside while it rains. Talk has no escape. Honesty loves pain. Please don't beg forgiveness, 'cause the sun don't always want to shine. In a room on fire, in a room
Thank you for listening to Kingston Live. Be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. For more great Kingston music, check out the Kingston Live playlist on Spotify. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. You can also hear our sister show, Kingston Live On Air, on Amherst Island Radio and CFRC.
I hear a lot of 90s vibe in your music as well. What kind of bands, do you consider influences?
I think Green Day is a big one. Oasis, that's a big one. The Strokes.
We have a lot of like 60s influence too, but in terms of production, it's kind of hard to get a 60s sound because you almost have to intentionally make your music sound old, which is what we don't want to do. We want it to sound new and modern.
Tell us about recording at Bathhouse. That must have been a neat experience.
Yeah, it was just, you look at pictures of it and video going in of just what it's like to record there. So you kind of get an idea, but then you actually walk in and you're like, yeah, it's a recording studio. It's got a lot of prestige and it's earned its legendary status. But so I think just setting up and everything, we were kind of just like amazed at looking at all the memorabilia on the wall, all the Tragically Hip stuff. And so we kind of took our time getting set up to actually record because we were too busy taking pictures of everything. But then once we started recording and getting in the groove, it just felt like, yeah, we're just a band in a room and we're making something good. So yeah, it was a good experience for sure.
I want to go back to the musical influence because I have heard you guys say many times that you are very influenced by the 60s and 70s. But like what Ange said, there's a lot of kind of 2000s and 90s punk vibes that come out of there. You can get comparisons to the Replacements on some tunes, and there's almost a flavor of treble charger, Greg Norrie kind of textures in there. And you also seem to align strongly with a lot of the punk scene. You guys have that same DIY ethos, that same energy, and even playing, I know you've got an upcoming show in Hamilton that I love the address is just listed as Ask a Punk. I love that ethos to the band. Would you guys consider yourself part of the punk scene, or is that just something that you've kind of fallen into?
I grew up on punk rock music and skateboarding and, like that whole culture. So I would definitely say naturally it just kind of happens that way. And every time I write a song, it kind of comes off a little more punk. And then I bring it to the guys and we can, figure something out. But I would say we fall into that scene 100%. And it's like, I feel like we have a pretty good mix of in our sound because we could play at like a punk festival or like a punk bar venue and fit in, but then our songs kind of have a little more of like a danceable feel to them sometimes. So we could play with a band like Cassador or, anybody like that who maybe is as involved in like the punk aspect of music and just kind of make it work. So I think that's pretty cool to have.
Totally. I never really thought about that, but sometimes in like radio, we think about how many different stations can this hit, Can it do AC, hot AC,
right,
and CHR, you know what I mean? And when you can do that, you can open for so many different bands, rock, the alternative, hitting that indie stuff, getting into the punk. You guys really do you have a very diverse sound, but at the same time, it's focused. Like, I don't listen to you and go like, what is this? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's the Backsteps. It's focused. It's a cool vibe. And you're very good performing live. Do you enjoy that? Like, what aspect? Because there's so many different aspects when you're a musician. You've got to be so many different things. What do you enjoy the most? Is it performing? Is it writing?
I love all aspects of it, but I would say performing live for me, like just being able to bring the music to people and see like how people are reacting to your music right in front of you who have never heard of you before. So we played in Santa Cruz, California as well when we were down there. And that show was a massive eye opener. It's a college town. So we played in a packed bar for a bunch of crazy college students who are moshing and crowd surfing. And there's people breaking their noses and twisting their knees and, but they were all laughing and having a good, and that's what I think, it was something super, it was, might have been a little bit of speed going around at that show, but they had $1.50 PBRs there too.
Yeah, it was super cheap.
they had like a bucket behind the drum kit, and they were like, "Yeah, this is for you guys." And it was a bucket full of beer, and our drummer actually took the bucket.
And we were just giving them out to people.
We were
too,
just we were throwing them out to
set.
people in the crowd. I don't know. Hopefully, it wasn't like an all ages thing, because that's a lawsuit. But
But the best part about that show was that you could tell as we were playing that the audience had never seen a band like us play in that town before. Like, I don't think they had a punk scene in that town, and we definitely brought that rock and roll energy to that town that they clearly needed by how crazy they were just jumping and dancing.
It was just funny to watch, like Luke was saying, because from what I've heard, it's a lot of like folkier kind of music in Santa Cruz, and I don't think they knew what to do with themselves with that much energy. They were like vibrating, and like, we don't know whether to mosh or just like try and do a backflip. So they were like, let's just try and do it all.
Yeah.
And we were like that. It felt pretty cool, honestly.
Fans are an interesting thing, right? Like they can make or break a show. I did a show recently and it was a small crowd, but we had the best time I think I've ever had at a show in my life. So like, what is it? Do you have like a set group of fans that you chat to?
They're all really cool. From the ones that I've met in person, I don't think we've ever had any negative experience with people after shows. I don't know. I always think about it, like the fact that they like bought a ticket to come see us, or they bought a shirt. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't care if they're, maybe a little bit more of an outcast or whatnot. Like, it's all cool to us. And playing in LA was our first time actually having like multiple people come up afterwards in like a line almost and get photos or signed or, something like that, which was really cool. And everybody said some really nice things about us. So yeah, I'm glad we're kind of branching out that way and just doing it organically, like getting out and cutting our teeth a little bit and just bringing it to the people, man.
Everyone loves us, so we're doing something right, obviously.
Yeah, I think we've had a couple, like we played in Montreal. There is a couple, like, I don't know, I don't really want to say weird or anything like that, but there's some weird conversations had with people. This one guy, he'll probably listen to this and he'll probably unfollow us, but oh well. He was a very nice guy. I'm not gonna knock him. He's probably about our age, like 21, 22, and he was very drunk by the end of it. And he kind of came up to us after, and he started talking about he came up to me and he's like, "Oh man, it's a shame how like most singers kill themselves." And I was like, "I'm sorry." And he was like, he's like, it just happened. So just don't do it, man. I was like, okay. Thank you.
What fan chat goes wrong?
Yeah, I was like, and then I was like, well, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Just like, this has been weird. Thanks for creeping out my night.
Well, that does bring to an interesting question I did have, because you guys you've been playing so many different cities, and you've been playing so long as musicians, that have you noticed there's been a distinct change city to city, country to country, or pre and post pandemic in the crowds that you guys experience? Because I feel like a lot of the music cities and the music scenes have maybe changed a little bit over the last couple of years. I know that a buddy of mine used to always say Montreal was such a walk-up town. Nobody would ever sell a show out ahead of time. And now every show in Montreal that is getting big numbers, it's selling out ahead of time. People are coming out or planning to come out sooner. And I don't know if that's a pandemic thing or if that's just a weird coincidence that I've started to notice or what, but I would love to get your thoughts from a musician standpoint on that.
Yeah, I think just in general, we've noticed kind of slightly higher turnouts everywhere we've played, just being post-pandemic. But like specifically about Montreal, we kind of noticed that thing you were talking about of people not planning to go in advance, but then showing up. We definitely noticed that with like, as soon as we started playing, people just started flooding in from the streets, which was cool to see, because that kind of happened in Santa Cruz too. Like the bands that went on before us, it was a moderate crowd, but then the second we plugged in and started playing, everyone just started coming into the room. So it was good to see that.
Luke, if there's one member of the band that gets made fun of, it's usually the bass player. How is that for you?
It's not true for our band.
Yeah, there's one person I won't name that definitely we've played shows for them that has made their fair share of bass player jokes. But within the band, no, I think it's probably because I'm so well dressed and well respected in the band that everyone just loves me.
Well,
so.
If you guys can make the lead singer that person, then yeah, absolutely. Seth, man, step up.
I know. It's just because they're jealous. I think, you know, it's one of those things.
Yeah, what are your goals? What do you want? What's next for you guys?
I think the goal is honestly just to bring it to the biggest platform we can. Yeah, we were talking to Boris one time and he asked us that, and we were like, you know, we want to be like the Oasis of Canada, like how Oasis is in England. That's how we want to be over here.
Don't fight though, like those brothers.
We're all too like passive almost to fight. Like, you know, if we get into an argument, it's like, hey man, like what you said really hurt my feelings back there. And it's like,
oh, I love that.
Sorry, man. Didn't mean to.
That's so 2022 rock and roll.
It is 2022 rock and roll.
We'll fight with other people, just not ourselves.
Just not ourselves. Yeah,
family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's we have a good time though.
Here's a question for you. You're on your way up and there's a band that's on their way down, and you've thought in your mind about opening for them, but suddenly they're opening for you. What band is that?
Oh no.
I know, I put you on the spot. I didn't even know I was going to ask it. It just came out.
That's good. It can be like any band, like ever. Oh God, what was that?
Didn't Figure Eight open for like Trapped or somebody?
Yeah.
And now they're on their way down for sure. So
yeah, I think
Trapped would definitely open for us.
I think, yeah, Trapped would be a good one. Oh God, any band like that would be hilarious. I think I mentioned, like, I don't know if I'd ever want to be on the same bill as like Kid Rock, but that would be kind of funny. Like that would be kind of funny.
Yeah. Like he's there opening up. That's what yes. Yeah, okay, beautiful.
Just make him carry your gear. Don't even make him play.
You know, like, oh, I'm sorry. Are you a roadie? No, that
he gives that vibe
he does
off.
Give that vibe
Let's
off.
be real.
The more I see of Kid Rock, the more I'm just like, you just gotta just retire or something.
I don't think I'll ever do an interview without asking
That's a good question.
Again.
I like that one.
It's my new favorite
like
question. So where are you playing next? Where can people catch you?
It'll probably be announced by the time this comes out, but we're playing the Fire Hall Theater in Gan as like a homecoming show. We got a show in Kingston in June. We're playing the Fort Henry at the YGK Beer Fest. Then we got an East Coast tour booked for September right now. Like we're doing like I think Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington. I want to say.
I thought you were gonna say like Newfoundland, Nova Scotia.
Yeah,
eventually.
I'd love to go to Nova Scotia. Yeah, I'd love to go there. But
every band I've ever talked to that has come from that way or just come back from doing like Canadian East Coast tour, they always say it's like the true test of a band. Like it's the music equivalent of how they say, like, you know, you haven't really tested your marriage until you put together IKEA furniture together.
Yeah.
Because if you go like, if you're coming from down east or you're going down east, there's like a 10-hour drive where you're just in Quebec and there's no Anglophone gigs to play. Everybody's Francophone. So it's just like you're going to the moon together with your band. You're just trapped in your van. And if you're not one of the 2022 rock and roll bands where you can say, hey, what you said hurt my feelings, and suss out your feelings, by the time you get to the gig, it's over. Everyone's done with each other.
And then you got to sit like for 10 hours coming back too. It's just awkward. It's awkward. It's weird.
You think there's more cities out there than there actually are, but once you get past Montreal, there's like 4 or 5 big cities. I did that with quotation marks for you listeners.
Do you guys drive to LA?
No, we flew.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not
I was going to ask about travel, but
I'm too impatient to drive that far. I just, you know, we flew and then we rented a car when we got in.
We drove to Santa Cruz and back. That was it.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz is beautiful. Yeah.
Santa Cruz is awesome. It's like my new favorite place.
Skater die.
Exactly. There's so many people like that out there. There's like, they say like, what was it? Like, oh geez, what was the word? Oh, rad.
They say rad.
It's so rad. That's so
it's
rad.
Like,
yeah.
I'm like right at home there. My friend lives 20 minutes outside, and when I visit her, I think this is home. And I could see you, Seth, enjoying that place.
Yeah, I don't know. And like I met this guy out there too, and he was talking about how he like literally just runs like a clothing brand in Santa Cruz, and that's like his whole. It's like a little bungalow thing, and he runs a clothing brand out of it, and he surfs during the day, and he goes to the bar at night and drinks cheap beer and then surfs off the hangover. And doesn't sound that bad.
Chill life.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty rad.
That sounds pretty rad.
Yeah.
That's it's fun place for sure. And like I really did enjoy like Los Angeles and like the Hollywood area and stuff too. But I'm a nerd for like music and movies, so that was of course like going to all these like different sites and doing all the handprints and stuff like that at
The Walk of Fame,
Yeah.
all the stars.
Oh, yeah.
Going up and seeing the Hollywood Hills, all the mansions up there.
Yeah, we just took like a day and like walked through Beverly Hills and like just checked out like all the mansions. And
You have to.
yeah, you gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta.
All right. Well, that just about covers everything I had.
Yeah, me too. Anything you guys want to get out there before we let you go?
Well,
Follow us on
you-
social media.
blogger socials.
That's always
Yeah,
a good
that's
one, yeah.
Just the Backsteps. You can find us anywhere. We have a website now.
yeah, we got some pretty exciting stuff getting cooked up right now. While we're going back to California, while we were there, we were in a newspaper in Santa Cruz. Like before we got there, they had like this. It looked like almost like a punk rock like newspaper. Like there's a guy skateboarding on the cover, and you flip it open, and there's like all the music listings, and we were on it for that week. And I was like, we should do something like that in Kingston and have like it's like a free thing. Like you just go to a gas station and pick that up. So I've been trying to work away at something like that to kind of have where like, you know, people can go get like the physical copy, and then not even just like, because a lot of people find their shows online, but just to have that physical thing that says, oh, I was in a newspaper under like on a flyer. Like that's, some people would find
Yeah.
that pretty cool. So that's something that we're trying to, you know, cook up and just kind of keep the DIY spirit alive. And
Yeah. Get some like local artists to like, you know, like a different artist to like do each one. Be
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like design it
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit. Do like handwritten instead of
yeah,
typing.
that's a good
That'd be
idea. That's a
dope.
good idea. And I learned too.
Sorry.
Oh, no,
I just got involved in your
No,
project.
not
Sorry.
at all. But I saw these like old like punk flyers, and what they would do is they'd like print off a picture and they cut it and then they put it on the photocopier and so it just all looked like one picture. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, we used to do all that stuff in the 90s.
Oh, yeah?
Guys, if you want some tips, talk to me.
Absolutely.
Oh, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And good luck with everything.
Thanks, guys. That was
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, it's a good time.
This has been Kingston Live. We encourage you to rate us on your listening platform of choice and subscribe where possible. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. Kingston Live was produced in Kingston by Titan Sound. Hosted by Riley Jabour and Ange Stever. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Voiceovers and technical production by John Sanfilippo. Executive producer Rob Howard. Kingston Live is a member of the Canadian Live Music Association. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@kingstonlive.ca.